Continuing on with AFI's list of the 100 best movies, we come to number 66, a movie that I've loved for more than 30 years. 1981 brought us Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Directed by the incredible Steven Spielberg, this Harrison Ford action vehicle is the first of three, and only three, adventures for the archaeologist Dr. Indiana Jones. Dancing between history and the supernatural, this franchise combines comedy and action in a brilliantly fun combination. We join Indiana Jones on his journey to beat the Nazis to the legendary Ark of the Covenant. This movie has created so many iconic moments that are still referenced in pop culture to this day. Kicking things off in a South American jungle, Jones and his guide, Satipo, played by Alfred Molina, are navigating ruins. Careful to avoid the booby traps. He's after a golden idol that triggers the iconic rolling boulder scene. Narrowly avoiding death, Jones is betrayed by his rival, René Belloc, a French archaeologist played by Paul Freeman. Belloc takes the idol, and Jones is chased out of the jungle to a waiting plane. Shifting tone quickly, we catch up with Jones teaching at an American university. Government agents approach him and inform him of the Nazis are seeking the Ark of the Covenant. Jones is tasked with beating the Nazis to the Ark, that's supposed to contain the original tablets of the Ten Commandments, and for some reason, could grant invincibility. The first stop on Jones's globe-trotting adventure is Nepal. Hey, I just got back from there. He's looking for the daughter of his former mentor, Marion Ravenwood, played by Karen Allen. It's clear there's a history between these two adventurers. Jones needs a medallion that Marion has. It's the key to finding the Ark. They strike a deal, and Marion is going to be accompanying him on the adventure. Nazis raid the bar the two are meeting in. Our heroes flee the burning building and head for Cairo. Saleh, played by John Rhys Davies, is an Egyptian archaeologist and longtime friend of Jones. They gather intel on Belloc and the Nazis, who are currently running their own digging expedition nearby. The Nazis are very close to the actual Ark, despite missing the crucial medallion. Jones and company sneak into their camp, use the medallion paired with the Staff of Ra, and, in a very cool scene using lighting to great effect, Indy finds the real location of the Ark. In another classic scene often referenced, Indiana Jones has to face his only real fear: snakes. There's a pit he has to lower into, filled wall to wall with snakes. A fun fact I picked up some years ago in one of those pre-movie theater trivia things that plays 8,000 times before the trailers start. A lot of the snakes are actually legless lizards, and I have no idea what the difference would be. When Jones overcomes his fear, he and Saleh are ready to retrieve the gorgeous, ornately carved golden chest containing the Ark. Of course, the Nazis are always right on his tail. They ambush Jones and Saleh, taking the Ark for themselves. After a bit of time, there's an awesome chase sequence. Of course, no serial throwback-style action-adventure movie is complete without one, or several. It seems a bit silly to avoid spoilers, seeing that the movie came out in 1981 and is such an iconic masterpiece, but I don't want to give away the ending if somehow this movie has fallen through the cracks for you. This was the first outing for Indy and made him an instant hit with audiences. Although the movie was done as a throwback, it felt like a fresh take on the action-adventure movie genre. Spielberg is a talented filmmaker who always goes the extra mile to deliver a fantastic experience. He used some really spectacular technology and filming techniques to make the adventure feel as expansive as the script wanted it to be. There will be a day when Indiana Jones is no longer played by Harrison Ford. I'm not sure I care to see that day. Ford and Indy are almost as synonymous as Ford and Han Solo. His charisma and charm gave audiences an instant connection with this action star they had never seen before. To make Indiana Jones even more relatable, he's a flawed man with fears, and he takes a beating on his adventures. He's always barely skating by, he gets beat up in fights, he doesn't quite land his jumps or his stunts cleanly. And though he always gets the girl, there's usually a lot of yelling and slapping before he wins them over. James Bond has his watches, suits, and Walther PPK. Indiana Jones has a fedora, a worn leather jacket, and a whip. One is definitely cooler than the other. Not only was this movie directed by film legend Steven Spielberg, it was co-created by Star Wars creator George Lucas, another film legend, obviously. Each brought their own unique vision and expertise to the table. The two were still relatively young, but they had taken Hollywood by storm. Together, they created a movie and a franchise that called back to serials popular 50 years before the franchise debuted, while having it feel fresh at the same time. It was somehow new and nostalgic, a real feat. In its day, Raiders was the action movie that raised the bar of what an action sequence was. There is well-choreographed fights, car chases, car crashes, and special effects like explosions. Anything that could be captured in front of the camera lens and not added in post was utilized to make the movie feel that much more real. And looking back on this over 4+ decades, the decision to go all practical is even smarter as they have aged incredibly well. Here's another spoiler warning. Another practical effect that I didn't expect to be practical was the melting Nazi faces. This was done with prosthetics and puppetry. Very impressive. Of course, any movie is elevated even further into incredible heights when it receives a custom score by the most legendary film composer of all time, John Williams. Raiders March is the standout song from this film, but his score made the movie so iconic and carried over into subsequent movies that perfectly hits the nostalgia center of your brain. Even me just saying the Indiana Jones score is probably bringing those big orchestral sounds straight into your brain. In more recent years, a theory started floating around. I don't know if this was first introduced on The Big Bang Theory or if that show's popularity just catapulted this into the pop culture spotlight. The theory is that Indiana Jones himself, the hero and titular character, is completely inconsequential to the plot. The Nazis would have found the Ark and taken it where they wanted it, and they would have died when they opened it. Jones may have changed the timeline a little bit, but he ultimately contributed nothing to the end result. The Nazis did ambush Indy and Sala to get the Ark in the Snake Pit, but it was on the Nazi dig site where Indiana Jones had infiltrated in the first place, so the Nazis would have found it eventually. Actually, if Indy never went to see Marion, the Nazis would have had the medallion, which would have led them to the Ark straight away. The Ark was going to kill whoever had the hubris to open it. It was the Nazis, whether Jones was there or not. The last major argument, and I don't think this one is as strong, with the Nazis dead, the US government seals the Ark away and buries it in storage. The argument is that this would have happened anyway, but I would say that why? They weren't on US soil. The US military was not hot on the Nazis' heels. I think the Ark might have only been captured because of Indiana Jones, and I'm sticking to that. Now, there are plenty of us, me included, who think that Indiana Jones was still important in this adventure. Just because his plans didn't go off exactly as he would have wanted, doesn't mean trying to do the right thing is a loss. Maybe he didn't change the outcome of the Ark, but he had his own adventure and character moments to go through. He originally dismisses the supernatural elements of this adventure as superstitious hocus pocus. Seeing the power of the Ark firsthand made him a believer, which he would carry throughout the rest of his life and in his future film adventures. Jones also serves as a beacon for the audience to rally around. He's our tether into this new and highly entertaining world. He brings charisma with a sense of fun to the story. Him bringing the fun and adventure to the story may not change the final outcome on paper, but it is a fun ride to go along on. I know I wouldn't watch a movie called The Nazis Find the Ark of the Covenant. I said if Jones never went to Marion, the Nazis would have had the medallion and found the Ark with it. That's true, but it's also very likely that Marion may have been killed or maybe captured. Either way, not a good outcome for her. Spielberg and Lucas have both been proposed this theory. They never outright said that Indiana Jones was purposely inconsequential, but they do advise audiences to focus on the heroic journey, the character-driven story beats, the humor, suspense, and action. This is very much not about the destination, it's about the journey. This movie was a monster hit in 1981. How could it not be? Spielberg, Lucas, Ford, adventure, beating up Nazis. What's not to like? It had a modest budget of just $18 million and would go on to gross $389 million worldwide. It was the highest grossing film of 1981. It made Indiana Jones an overnight icon. The profits continued with sequels, merchandising, and re-releases. While the fourth and fifth entries in the saga aren't that... Alright, I'm just going to say it, they suck. I still revisit this trilogy at least once a year. There have also been some cool games in the LucasArts days, and the upcoming game, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, looks very promising. How do you feel about the Indy franchise and Raiders of the Lost Ark specifically? Sound off in the comments and check out this video next for more from So Wizard Podcast.